Chosen one, something changed in you. Not yesterday, not last week. Sometime recently, quietly, without announcement, something shifted. And you have been walking around carrying it ever since, unable to name it, unable to explain it, unable to shake it. You are not losing your mind. You are not weak, you are not forgotten, and you are absolutely not alone. But here is the truth nobody in your life has said out loud. You just came through something that most people never survive. Not just emotionally, spiritually. Something was tested in you at a level so deep, so precise, so personal, that even heaven went quiet to watch. And that silence, that heavy, confusing, exhausting silence you felt, that was not God walking away. That was the courtroom holding its breath. You felt it in your chest, that unexplained weight pressing down like a stone you never agreed to carry. You woke up tired when rest should have helped. You prayed, and the ceiling felt like concrete. You held yourself together in public and fell apart in private. You kept going, but something inside you whispered, "Is anybody even watching this?" They were. Heaven was leaning over the rail. And what heaven saw in you during that one private moment, that 1 second when you had every right to react, every justification to strike back, every reason to let it all collapse, is what changed everything. I am not going to tell you what that moment means yet, because you need to feel the weight of this first. You did not just endure something. You did not just survive something. You completed something. And the shift you feel right now, that quiet, almost eerie stillness settling into your bones, that is not the silence of abandonment. That is the silence after a verdict. And the verdict was in your favor. If you have felt that pressure, that silence, that strange heaviness, lately type right now, "I felt the shift." And stay with this message all the way through, because the ending will finally explain what your spirit has been trying to tell you. Let me ask you something that nobody has dared to ask you directly. Why was the pressure so intense? Not just difficult, not just uncomfortable. Intense. The kind of intense that sat on your chest at 3 inches the morning. The kind that followed you into rooms full of people and made you feel completely alone. The kind that made you question things you thought were settled in your spirit years ago. Why did it feel so personal? Like it was designed specifically for you? Like whoever or whatever was behind it had studied your history, your wounds, your triggers, your breaking points, and then applied pressure to every single one of them, simultaneously? And why did heaven stay so quiet? You prayed, you fasted, you held on, you did everything right, and the silence stretched so long that you started to wonder whether obedience had a ceiling, whether faithfulness had an expiration date, whether God had simply moved on without telling you. I need you to sit with those questions for just a moment, because the answer is going to change the way you interpret every hard season you have ever walked through. Here is what nobody told you. The final trial was never designed to measure how much pain you could absorb. Read that again. It was not a test of your endurance. It was not heaven watching to see how long you could bleed before you collapsed. That is not what was being measured. Suffering alone proves nothing. History is full of people who suffered greatly and never became anything because of it. What was being measured was something far more specific, far more rare. What kind of heart would you maintain when everything around you gave you permission to lose it? What kind of spirit would you carry when nobody was watching, nobody was clapping, and nobody was coming to your defense? And what would you do in that one moment, that single, private, unwitnessed moment when you had every right to strike back? The Bible says it plainly in Proverbs 16:32, "Better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city." That is not gentle advice. That is a ranking. Heaven ranks restraint above military conquest. Heaven considers the person who holds their tongue under fire more powerful than the soldier who captures a city. Because anyone can fight when they are provoked. Anyone can react when they are wounded. That requires nothing special. that is just human instinct. But to be wounded, to be wronged, to have the evidence in your hand and the words already formed on your tongue, and then to choose silence, that is not weakness. That is the rarest form of strength that exists on this earth. And heaven does not hand authority to people who simply survived. Heaven entrusts authority to people who demonstrated under real pressure, in real time, with real consequences, that they can be trusted with power. Think about this. You would not load 10,000 pounds of cargo onto a bridge you had never tested. You would not place something irreplaceable into the hands of someone who had never proven themselves under pressure. Neither does heaven. The pressure was not crushing you. It was testing your load-bearing strength. The fire was not destroying you. It was revealing your composition. Because fire does not lie. Fire does not care about your reputation, your history, or your intentions. Fire only reveals what is actually there. And what the fire revealed in you, what it exposed when everything else burned away, is precisely why heaven responded. The weight you carried was not the weight of a life falling apart. The weight you felt was the weight of what heaven is preparing to place on your life. You do not put heavy cargo onto weak bridges. But when the bridge holds, when it stands firm under a load that should have collapsed, it then, and only then, do you increase what it carries. That is where you are right now. You held. You did not collapse. You maintained your integrity when compromise would have given you immediate relief. You chose restraint when retaliation would have felt completely justified. And the proof of your readiness was never in your tears. It was in your restraint. I want you to do something right now. Say it out loud, wherever you are sitting. My pain had a purpose. Not just a lesson. Not just a character-building exercise. A purpose. A specific, heaven-designed, destiny-shaping purpose that was moving you toward something your eyes have not seen yet. Your endurance was not invisible. Every moment you held on was recorded. Every night you chose faith over fear was written down. Every time you refused to become what hurt you, heaven leaned forward and took note. You were never simply being worn down by life. You were being proven for a level of authority that requires exactly the kind of heart you just demonstrated. And now that the trial is complete, there is a question that must be answered. Because passing the test was only the qualification. What you do next, how you carry what you've just been approved for, that determines whether what heaven has prepared for you will finally rest on your life. And that answer begins with understanding the one thing that most chosen ones get wrong the moment the pressure lifts. Stay with me, because what comes next will show you exactly why your restraint was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of your authority. Let me take you back, not far back. Recently, close enough that you can still feel it in your body when you think about it. There was a moment, a specific moment. Maybe it was a conversation that turned cold without warning. Maybe it was a message you read that revealed something about someone you trusted, something that landed in your chest like a brick dropped from the 10th floor. Maybe it was a room full of people who watched what happened to you and said absolutely nothing. Maybe it was disrespect, so deliberate, so calculated, that it could not have been accidental. You know exactly what moment I am talking about. And in that moment, hear me clearly, you had everything you needed to respond. You had the evidence. It was right there, undeniable, documented, witnessed. You had the words. They were already formed, already lined up, already waiting at the edge of your tongue like soldiers at attention. You had the emotional permission. Every person who knew your story would have understood completely if you had let it go. You had the moral high ground. You had the receipts. You had the right. And something rose up in you. That fire, that surge, that ancient, righteous anger that says, enough, not one more day, not one more moment of this. And you opened your mouth, and then you stopped. Something made you stop. Not fear, not weakness, not because you did not have the strength. You had plenty of strength. It was not powerlessness that held you back. It was something else, something deeper, something that the people around you will never fully understand, because it did not come from you. Proverbs 16:32 says it plainly, "One who is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and one who rules his spirit than one who takes a city." You didn't just hold your tongue. You ruled your spirit when your spirit had every reason to revolt. That is not a small thing. That is not emotional maturity. That is not just good character. That is sanctification under pressure. That is God working in the interior of a human being in a way that cannot be manufactured, cannot be rehearsed, cannot be faked for an audience. The sword went back into the sheath. The lightning stayed in the cloud. The storm passed through you, and you did not become the storm. You stepped back from the bench. You removed yourself from the role of judge at the exact moment when every courtroom in the natural world would have handed you the gavel and said, "Go ahead, you earned this." And you said, "No." Now let me ask you something, and I need you to sit with this question because it matters more than you realize. Why does that moment still live in your body? Why does it still sit right there, in the middle of your chest, like unfinished business? Why do you still replay it at 2 inches the morning when the house is quiet? Why does a part of you still wonder, did I do the right thing? Did my silence make me look weak? Did anyone even notice what I gave up in that moment? Somebody noticed. Job 34:21 says, "His eyes are on the ways of mortals. He sees their every step, not their public steps, not their celebrated steps, every step, including the steps nobody applauded, including the moment you backed away from a battle you could have won, including the restraint that cost you more than any confrontation ever would have. Because here is the truth that the world will never teach you. Anybody can lash out. Anybody can fight back. Anybody can detonate when they have been pushed far enough. That requires nothing special, but it takes something sanctified, something set apart, something heaven-marked to hold power in your hands and still choose restraint. That is rare. That is genuinely rare. And heaven does not overlook rare things. You thought the silence after that moment meant nothing happened. You thought your restraint dissolved into thin air. You thought you swallowed your fire, and it just burned out somewhere inside you, with no witness, no record, no response. But let me tell you what was actually happening in that moment, while you stood there in your silence. The room went quiet in the unseen. Not the quiet of emptiness, the quiet of something unprecedented, the kind of quiet that happens when a move is made that no one expected. When someone does something so contrary to human nature, so contrary to what the flesh would demand, that even the spiritual realm pauses. Because of that pause, something answered from the unseen. I am not going to tell you exactly how yet, because you need to understand the full weight of what that moment meant before you can receive what came next. But I need you to hear this right now, and I need you to let it land somewhere permanent inside you. The final trial was not your suffering. The final trial was not how much pain you could absorb. The final trial was your response, and you passed. Now, if you chose silence when you had every right to retaliate, type right now, "God saw my restraint." Because what comes next in this message is going to show you exactly what heaven released the moment you made that choice, and why your life is about to look nothing like the season you just came out of. Let me ask you something nobody has asked you lately. How long have you been faithful quietly, privately, consistently faithful, with absolutely nothing to show for it? How long have you been doing the right thing in the dark, with no applause, no sign, no confirmation that any of it even registered? You kept your integrity when compromise would have paid off immediately. You forgave someone who never apologized. You held your tongue when your reputation was being torn apart, and you had every receipt to fight back. You kept praying when the ceiling felt like concrete. You kept showing up when showing up felt like the loneliest thing on earth, and heaven said nothing. That silence, that specific, personal, suffocating silence that is the wound this section is written to heal. Because for too many of you, that silence did not just feel like a delay, it felt like a verdict. It felt like God looked at everything you sacrificed and decided it simply was not enough. But I need you to stop right there, because what you interpreted as rejection was something else entirely. Scripture says in 1 Kings chapter 19 that when the prophet Elijah was at his lowest, exhausted, alone, convinced he was the only one left, God did not show up in the earthquake, not in the fire, not in the great rushing wind. He showed up in a still, small voice, in the quiet, in the hush. God was not absent in the silence. God was present in a way that noise would have covered. Here is what nobody ever taught you about divine silence. There is a silence that happens in a courtroom right before the judge stands. Everything goes still, not because nothing is happening, because something final is about to happen. The hush is not emptiness. The hush is weight. The hush is the room reorganizing itself around what is coming. That is the silence you have been living inside. Heaven went quiet around your life, not because you were forgotten, but because what you were doing was so rare, so unexpected, so genuinely uncommon that it demanded full attention. Think about what you actually walked through. You were betrayed and you did not retaliate. You were misrepresented and you did not launch a campaign to correct it. You were passed over and you did not perform bitterness. You were dismissed by people who should have defended you, and you kept moving with dignity they did not deserve. Do you understand how rare that is? Heaven was watching how you handled betrayal when no one was defending you. Heaven was watching how you carried disappointment without letting it poison your character. Heaven was watching what you did with your pain in the private hours, the 2 a.m. moments, the quiet drives, the prayers that felt like they evaporated before they hit the ceiling. Psalm 56:8 says, God collects every single tear in a bottle. He records every one. Not one moment of your private obedience went unregistered. Not one. But here is where I need to push deeper into your psychology, because this is where the real wound lives for so many of you who have been walking with God for decades. You were not just hurt by the silence. You were embarrassed by it. Because you told people God was working. You told people breakthrough was coming. You staked your reputation on the faithfulness of God. And then the silence stretched so long that people around you started giving you that look. That quiet, pitying look that says, maybe you were wrong. Maybe you misheard. Maybe God does not work that way for people like you. And somewhere in the deep interior of your spirit, you started to agree with them. That agreement, that quiet surrender to the lie, that is what the enemy was after the entire time. Not your circumstances, your confidence, because Hebrews 10:35 does not say cast away your joy or cast away your peace. It says specifically, do not throw away your confidence, for it holds a great reward. The silence was never sent to break you. It was sent to reveal what you were made of, when no external reward was sustaining you. And what it revealed was something heaven does not see every generation. It revealed someone who would stay faithful even when faithfulness felt pointless. That is not ordinary. That is the material that authority is built from. Because God does not promote performers. Performers need applause to function. God promotes those who remain consistent when there is no applause, because those are the ones who can be trusted with rooms where the stakes are too high for performance. You were not being ignored. You were being observed for promotion. And what heaven does after it watches long enough after it has seen your character hold under pressure that would have collapsed someone else, is where your life begins to change in ways you cannot manufacture, cannot force, and cannot take credit for. The silence is ending. Not because you finally did something impressive enough, but because the observation is complete. The record is full. The case has been made on your behalf by your own private obedience. And now the judge is about to stand. Which means one thing. Chosen one, the verdict is ready. And you need to understand exactly what you did in that one private moment nobody saw that moved heaven from observation into action. Because that moment was not small. That moment was the final trial. Now, listen to me very carefully. Because this is the part most people miss. This is where they celebrate too early, or doubt too long, or walk right past what heaven just handed them without recognizing what it actually is. You have been waiting for heaven to respond. You have been scanning your circumstances, looking for a sign, waiting for the external proof that something changed. A phone call, a door opening, a breakthrough you could see with your eyes and hold in your hands. But chosen one, heaven already responded. You just did not recognize it because it did not arrive the way you expected. The first response of heaven is never the applause. It is the authorization. And authorization does not look like celebration. It looks like clarity. It looks like a new steadiness in your chest that was not there before. It looks like emotional distance from battles that used to consume you. It looks like waking up one morning and realizing you no longer need what you once begged for. That is not emptiness. That is elevation. Proverbs 16:32 says it plainly. Better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who conquers a city. Heaven is not impressed by conquest. Heaven is moved by governance. And what you demonstrated, that restraint, that controlled silence when everything inside you was rising, that proved something that no sermon, no prayer, no public declaration ever could. It proved you could be trusted. The crown is not placed on unstable heads. That is not cruelty, that is wisdom. Because an unstable head with a crown does not become royalty. It becomes a tragedy. Heaven does not hand loaded authority to undisciplined hearts, not because God is withholding, but because power without the character to carry it does not bless you. It destroys you. Think about that. Really think about it. How many people do you know who got exactly what they prayed for, and it ruined them? The relationship, the money, the platform, the opportunity. They received the blessing but lacked the architecture to hold it. And it collapsed. Not because God was cruel, because they were not yet built for it. But you have been under construction in ways you could not see. Every moment of silence was a beam being placed. Every moment of restraint was a foundation being poured. Every moment you chose not to react, not to expose, not to retaliate, heaven was watching and saying, "This one is almost ready." And now, here is where I need you to feel the weight of this distinction, because it will change everything about how you move going forward. There is a difference between power and authority. Power is what you have. Authority is what you have earned the right to carry. Power without mercy becomes destruction. We have all seen it. We have all felt it done to us by someone who had strength but no restraint. It does not build, it bulldozes. But power with restraint, power held in the hand of a person who could have used it and chose not to, that becomes something else entirely. That becomes authority. And authority does not need to announce itself. It does not need to argue for recognition. It does not need to prove itself to every room it enters. It simply stands. And people feel it without being told what they are feeling. That is what you are stepping into right now. You moved from reactive pain to governed power. You moved from emotional survival to spiritual authority. And that shift, quiet as it was, invisible as it felt, that is the most significant thing that has happened in your life in years. Heaven responded because you proved you could carry power without becoming cruel. Say that out loud. Right now, wherever you are, say it with faith. I am trusted with more now. Not arrogantly, not performatively. Say it like someone who just realized the key was always meant for them. Because the key was not just given to you, chosen one. You were deemed safe to hold it. There is a difference. And heaven does not make that declaration lightly. But I have to warn you, and this warning is just as important as everything I just said. If you do not understand how to carry this new authority, you can still delay what you just qualified for. Because this is where the next trap is set. Not a trap of failure, a trap of pride, a trap of finally feeling elevated and subtly, quietly, beginning to look down, beginning to separate, beginning to believe that your growth makes you superior rather than responsible. And the moment that happens, the moment restraint turns into arrogance, the moment authority becomes performance, you will feel the ground shift beneath you again. Not as punishment, as correction. Because what heaven built in you through suffering cannot be maintained through ego. It can only be sustained through continued humility, continued surrender, continued alignment. So the question you have to answer, not for me, but for yourself, in the quiet of your own spirit, is this. Now that you carry more, what will you do with it? And more importantly, who will you remain while carrying it? That answer will determine everything that unfolds next. Now, I need to tell you something that nobody has been honest enough to say to your face. The reason you are exhausted, and I mean bone-tired, soul-tired, the kind of tired that sleep cannot touch, is not only because of what happened to you. It is because you have been running a courtroom inside your own mind every single day. You are the prosecutor. You are the defense attorney. You are the witness on the stand. You are the judge reviewing the evidence. And every night, when the world goes quiet, you go back into that courtroom and you run the case again. You replay what they said. You rehearse what you should have said. You reconstruct the timeline. You present the evidence one more time to an empty room, hoping that this time the verdict will finally bring you peace. But it never does. And you know why? Because you were never assigned to that courtroom. You were never meant to carry that file. And every hour you spend inside those walls is an hour stolen from the life God is trying to move you into. Chosen one, hear me clearly. You cannot hold your future if both hands are still gripping the past. Now, I know what some of you are thinking right now. You are thinking, but what they did was wrong. What happened to me was real. Am I just supposed to pretend it never happened? No. Absolutely not. Release is not denial. Release is not pretending the wound was not deep. Release is not weakness, dressed up in spiritual language. Release is not rolling over and letting injustice walk away smiling. So, let me tell you exactly what release is. Release is the moment you stop trying to be the one who fixes it and you let God be the one who handles it. There is a radical difference between those two things. When you try to fix it, you can only touch circumstances. You can only affect what people see on the surface. You can correct a narrative. You can expose a wrong. You can defend your name. But you cannot touch motives. You cannot reach the hidden places. You cannot heal what lives in darkness. But God can. Romans 12:19 says it with no room for debate. Vengeance is mine. I will repay, saith the Lord. That is not a suggestion. That is a transfer of responsibility. God is not asking you to forgive and forget. God is asking you to set down the file and let him walk into the courtroom. Because when he takes the seat, he does not just rule on what you can see. He deals with roots. He deals with motives. He reaches into places no human action could ever access. And what he does in those hidden places will accomplish more in one moment than you could accomplish in 10 years of internal litigation. But here is the question you need to sit with right now. Why are you still holding the file? Be honest. Not with me, with yourself. Because some of you have been carrying this case for months. Some of you for years. Some of you have been mentally prosecuting the same person, the same situation, the same wound for so long that it has become familiar. It has become a part of your daily rhythm, and without realizing it, you have built your identity around being the one who was wronged. And that identity is costing you everything. Proverbs 4:23 warns us, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Every decision you make flows from what you are carrying inside. Every relationship you enter is colored by what you refuse to release. Every opportunity God places in front of you is filtered through the lens of unresolved offense. You are not just tired from the battle, you are tired from the weight, and the weight is not from the enemy anymore. The weight is from the verdict you keep trying to issue that was never yours to give. So right now, right where you are sitting, standing, or lying down, I want you to do something that may be the most powerful thing you have done in years. Whisper it. You do not have to shout it. You do not have to feel it fully yet. Just whisper it and let heaven hear it. God, I release the case. That is it. 3 words, and the courtroom begins to empty. 3 words, and the file starts to leave your hands. 3 words and room begins to open in your spirit for what has been waiting outside the door. If you are ready, if something in you just exhaled reading those words, type right now, I release it. Let heaven record your agreement. Because this is the truth that will carry you into everything that comes next. Your next level will not be sustained by self-defense. It will be sustained by surrender. Self-defense keeps you anchored to what was. Surrender positions you for what is coming. And what is coming, what heaven has already prepared in response to what you just walked through, requires a version of you that is not dragging the weight of the previous chapter onto the next one. You have set down the file. You have stepped out of the courtroom. Now it is time to understand what heaven has been quietly building while you were in that room. And what was being built, chosen one, will take your breath away. Now I need to ask you something that might sting a little. And I need you to sit with it. Really sit with it. How many years did you spend trying to make people see you? Not strangers, the people in your life, the ones who were supposed to understand you, the ones who watched you sacrifice, carry the weight, show up faithfully, hold everything together, and still looked right through you like you were invisible. How many times did you do the right thing and then quietly, privately, desperately wait for someone to notice? How many rooms did you walk into carrying something extraordinary and then shrink yourself down because nobody in that room had the capacity to recognize what you carried? Chosen one, that was not humility. That was hunger. A deep, legitimate, human hunger to be seen, to be acknowledged. To have someone in the front row finally say, I see what you are carrying, and I know what it cost you. And here is the truth that will set you free and break your heart at the same time. They were never going to give you what only heaven could provide. You were performing on stages you were never assigned to, auditioning for roles that were never written for those judges, waiting for people to stamp what heaven had already sealed years ago before you even understood what you were carrying. Proverbs 29:25 says it plainly. Fear of man will prove to be a snare, not a disappointment, not an inconvenience, a snare, a trap, something that catches you and holds you in place while your destiny waits on the other side. And some of you have been caught in that snare for decades, not because you were weak, because you were human, because God wired you for connection, for community, for belonging, and the enemy hijacked that sacred wiring and turned it into a leash. Every time someone overlooked you, that leash pulled tight. Every time you were misunderstood, it yanked you backward. Every time you poured out everything you had and received silence in return, something in you quietly, painfully began to wonder. Maybe I am not enough. Maybe I read this wrong. Maybe God is not really with me the way I thought. And so you performed harder, explained yourself more, made yourself smaller in rooms that should have made you larger, chased validation from people who were spiritually incapable of granting it. But here is what the trial revealed. Here is what the pressure exposed. You were not just being tested on what you could endure. You were being tested on who you believed was watching. Because as long as your audience was people, their reactions controlled your movements. Their silence controlled your confidence. Their approval determined your sense of assignment. And heaven cannot fully release authority into hands that are still shaking for human applause. Galatians 1:10 cuts right to it. Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Paul did not ask that question casually. He asked it because he understood that you cannot serve two audiences. You cannot live before the gaze of heaven and the judgment of people simultaneously. Something has to give, and chosen one, something just gave. That shift you felt, that quiet internal loosening that you could not explain. Part of what shifted was your audience. Something in you stopped looking at the front row. Something in you stopped tracking their reactions. Something in you slowly, without fanfare, without a dramatic announcement, turned its face toward a different direction entirely. And once your audience changes, your authority stabilizes. You no longer need their applause because you can feel heaven's approval without needing it translated through human expression. You no longer need to be understood correctly by everyone because you are walking in something that was never meant to be explained, only demonstrated. You no longer need a spotlight when you carry light. Think about that. Really think about it. A candle does not beg the room to acknowledge its flame. It simply burns, and the room responds, whether it wants to or not. That is what you are becoming, not louder, not more aggressive, not more forceful in demanding recognition, quieter, more settled, more grounded, moving with the kind of confidence that does not require witnesses because heaven itself is the witness. Isaiah 43:1 says, I have called you by name, you are mine. Not, I will call you by name once the right people recognize you. Not, you are mine after the room agrees. Before the applause, before the acknowledgement, before any human being stamped their approval, heaven already called your name. And that name was spoken with authority, with tenderness, with absolute certainty. So here is your moment of emancipation, chosen one. The real freedom is not that they finally understand you. The real freedom is that you no longer need them to. Say that again inside your spirit. Let it land. Let it burn. Because the version of you that needed their validation, that version completed the trial. And the version emerging now, this version walks differently, talks differently, carries differently. This version is no longer asking for a seat at their table. This version knows that heaven already set the table and put your name at the head of it. If you are done performing for people who never truly understood you, say it right now. Heaven is my audience now, because the pressure is not finished with you yet. And the next time it returns, and it will return, everything depends on whether you remember who is watching. Let me stop you right here, because what I am about to tell you most people in your life will never say. Most preachers will skip past it. Most inspirational voices will leave you unprepared for it. And because they stayed silent, good people, chosen people, walked straight into their promotion and lost it within months. Not because they weren't ready to receive it, but because nobody warned them what would follow it. So, hear me clearly, chosen one. The pressure is coming back, not to destroy you, not because you failed, but because every cycle that fed off your reactions for years does not simply disappear the moment you shift. It returns, it knocks. It tests the door one final time, like an old lock trying one more time to fit a key that no longer belongs there. And if you do not understand what that means, you will mistake the return of pressure for the absence of progress. You will think, I thought I was done with this. You will wonder if the breakthrough was real. You will question whether anything actually changed. But Galatians 6-9 says it plainly, let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we will reap, if we do not give up. That phrase, due season, is not poetic decoration. It is a warning wrapped in a promise. It means the harvest requires you to hold your position through the echo, through the moment when the old pattern returns, wearing a familiar face. So let me describe exactly what it will look like, because it will not announce itself dramatically. It never does. It will come as a message from someone who misunderstands you again. It will come as a subtle disrespect in a room where you expected to be honored. It will come as a familiar trigger, a tone of voice that used to unravel you, an accusation you have heard before, a situation that mirrors something you thought was buried. And the moment it arrives, everything inside you will rise up. That old fire, that old urgency, that old need to explain yourself, defend your name, correct the record, make absolutely certain that this time people understand what really happened. And here is the dangerous part, chosen one. It will feel justified. It will feel righteous. It will feel like standing up for truth. But ask yourself one honest question, and do not answer it too fast. Is this the Holy Spirit moving you? Or is this your old identity knocking from the outside, trying to pull you back into a house you already moved out of? Because here is what nobody tells you about spiritual promotion. Patterns are not broken once. They are broken consistently until the cycle has absolutely no access to your energy, your attention, or your time. One restraint was the trial. What comes next is the position, and your position is proven not in the moment of pressure, but in the pause before your response. That pause, that sacred, almost invisible space between what happens to you and how you choose to respond, that is not hesitation. That is not weakness. That is not you shrinking. That is where your authority now lives. Romans 12:21 commands it without apology. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good, not with silence born from fear, not with suppression dressed up as spirituality, but with deliberate, grounded, intentional goodness that refuses to be pulled back into lower cycles. And I need to warn you about something else, because this is where chosen ones quietly disqualify themselves from the very elevation they prayed for. When you begin to feel this shift, when you begin to sense that you are operating differently, responding differently, carrying yourself differently, there is a temptation that rises that has nothing to do with your enemies. It rises from inside you. It is the quiet feeling of, I am beyond that now, that subtle elevation of self, that sideways glance at people still reacting, still arguing, still caught in cycles you have exited, and the slow, dangerous whisper inside you that says, I would never. Chosen one, the moment you look down on someone for where they are, you have already stepped off the ground that made you dangerous to darkness. Proverbs 16:18 does not stutter. Pride goes before destruction, not after, before. The fall begins the moment the posture shifts from grounded to superior. Humility is not the entry requirement to your trial. It is the ongoing requirement of your promotion. It must remain. It must deepen. It must become the very air you breathe at this new level. Remember where you were. Remember what it cost. Remember the nights you were not so composed. And let that memory make you gentle toward those still in the fire you just walked through. Because you were not promoted to stand above people. You were positioned to stand firm within yourself. And that distinction, that quiet, settled, unshakable firmness, is what makes you unafraid of the return of pressure. You have moved houses, chosen one. Stop answering the old address. And if you hold your position this time, if you pause where you used to react, if you stay grounded where you used to collapse, what opens next will not look like survival. It will look like assignment. And that assignment, the weight of it, the scope of it, the reason heaven has been preparing you for it, that is exactly where we are going next. If you are ready to pass the returning test without becoming your old self, again type right now, my position has changed. You made it through. And now heaven has a question for you. Not what did you survive, but what were you preserved for? Because here is what most people will never tell you, and what religion sometimes gets wrong about age. God does not retire his most seasoned vessels, he deploys them. He does not set aside his most tested ones when the gray comes in. He positions them. He does not whisper over your life, your best days are behind you. He leans close and declares, I kept you alive because the world is not ready for what you carry yet. You need to hear this, really hear it, not as encouragement, as truth. Because somewhere along the way, maybe in the quiet of a hospital room, maybe sitting alone at a kitchen table that used to be full, maybe staring at a retirement calendar that promised rest but delivered emptiness, somewhere along the way, you accepted a lie, so subtle, so soft, so wrapped in cultural kindness that it felt almost reasonable. The lie that said, "Your chapter is closing." And I am here to tell you, with every ounce of authority this word carries, that lie was sent specifically to stop you, not to comfort you, to contain you. Think about Moses, 80 years old, 80. He had already failed publicly, fled in shame, spent 40 years in the wilderness doing nothing that looked significant. By every human measure, finished, disqualified, too old, too broken, too much history. And God showed up in a burning bush and said, "Now, I need you now," not despite his age, because of it. Think about Caleb, 85 years old, standing before Joshua. And what does he say? He does not ask for a rocking chair. He does not ask for comfort. He points at the mountain, the hardest territory, the one with giants, and he says, "Give me this mountain." Joshua 14:12, 85 years old, and he was still reaching for more. Think about Anna, a widow, 84 years old, who never left the temple, day and night, fasting, praying, staying faithful in a season when no one could see why. And then one morning, a young couple walked in carrying a baby, and Anna was the one God positioned to recognize him. She had been preserved specifically for that moment. Luke 2:30, 6:38. Are you hearing this? Heaven saves certain voices for later chapters. Because later chapters need deeper authority. Old oil burns with a steadier flame. Seasoned timber holds more weight. And a faith that has survived loss, betrayal, silence, and sorrow, that faith does not crack under pressure. It anchors entire families. Now let me speak to you directly, not generally, directly. To the widow sitting in a house that echoes with memory, your presence is not a remnant, it is a sanctuary. The peace you carry after everything you have survived is not something a young counselor can manufacture in a classroom. It is hard-won, heaven-sent, and someone in your family, in your neighborhood, in your church, needs to stand inside that peace before they make a decision that destroys their life. To the veteran who came home carrying things you never fully explained, your endurance is not just a story, it is a blueprint. There are young men and women right now collapsing under pressures far lighter than what you carried, and they need someone who has already been through the dark and came out the other side. To the grandfather who thinks the family has moved on without him, your voice at the table is not decoration. It is a governing weight. When you speak from lived wisdom, from decades of consequence and grace, something in the room shifts that no algorithm, no influencer, no trending opinion can replicate. To the grandmother who has been praying quietly, faithfully, without applause, without recognition, without anyone fully knowing the battles you fought on your knees, heaven has been counting every single one of those prayers. And the answers are not lost. They are loaded, waiting for the right moment to release. You were not hidden because you were disqualified. You were hidden because timing matters. And this right now is the timing. This trial you just completed was not only about healing your wounds, it was about proving your readiness. Every scar you carry is now a credential. Every loss you survived is now a language. Every year you remained faithful, when nothing made sense, is now authority. The kind that cannot be faked, cannot be bought, and cannot be manufactured by someone who has not paid the price you paid. Job, after devastation, received double. Double. Job 42:10. Not as a consolation prize, as a testimony, so that everyone who watched him suffer would also watch him be restored and know that the God who allows the fire is the same God who walks through it with you. That is your assignment. Not perfection. Heaven is not asking for perfect. Heaven is asking for available. And the final thing heaven is asking from you now, the one thing that activates everything already prepared, is not a grand gesture. It is a quiet, settled, unshakable yes. You were not preserved just to survive old age. You were preserved to carry late authority. So, right now, if you believe your age is not your disqualification but your preparation, say it out loud. Declare it where you are sitting. Lord, I'm still available, because what heaven releases next requires exactly the vessel you have become. Let me bring it all home now. Every thread, every silence, every night you held yourself together when everything inside you was coming apart. Every moment you chose restraint when retaliation was right there, loaded, justified, ready to fire. Every tear you cried in a room where nobody witnessed it. Every prayer that felt like it hit a concrete ceiling and fell back down at your feet. None of it was wasted. Not one single moment. Because here is what heaven kept that you thought was lost. It kept the record. Every hidden act of obedience, every time you swallowed your pride, every time you forgave someone who never apologized, every time you stayed when leaving would have been so much easier, heaven wrote it down. Psalm 56:8 says, God collects every tear in a bottle. He keeps a record of every one. That means your pain had a purpose and your endurance had a witness, even when the room felt completely empty. And now, right now, heaven is responding. Not with noise, not with fanfare, not with a sudden explosion that shocks everyone around you. Heaven responds the way it always has, with precision, with timing that cannot be manufactured, with a shift so exact, so personal, so surgical, that only you will recognize it at first, because it was designed specifically for you. The verdict has been entered. The crown was not rushed, it was measured. Every delay, every detour, every door that slammed in your face, it was not punishment, it was measurement. Heaven was not withholding from you. Heaven was fitting what was coming to who you were becoming. And the version of you that exists right now, tested, refined, quieted, grounded, this is the version that can actually carry what is next. The storm did not own you. Read that again. The storm came. Lord knows it came. It came with betrayal attached to familiar faces. It came with financial pressure that made your hands shake. It came with health reports that tried to rewrite your future. It came with silence from people you poured into for years. The storm was real. The storm was personal. But the storm did not own you. The bridge held. And the room, that unseen, sacred room where your assignment is being discussed, went silent. Not because you were finished, because heaven had seen enough. Enough restraint, enough faithfulness, enough quiet integrity to make the decision final. The trial is complete. Now hear what that means for how you walk out of here today. You walk lighter now. Not because the weight disappeared, but because you are no longer carrying what was never yours to carry. You speak cleaner. No more wasted words defending yourself to people who were never assigned to understand you. You react slower. One breath, one pause, one moment of discernment before you respond. You release quicker. What took you weeks to let go before you release it now in hours, because you know what holding it costs you. You stand steadier, and you stop shrinking yourself to fit rooms that were never built for your expansion. Isaiah 54:2 says, enlarge the place of your tent, not shrink it, not apologize for it. Enlarge it. Heaven is not preparing another season of punishment for you. Heaven is preparing stewardship. And stewardship requires someone who stands at their full height. Now let me speak directly to the seniors, to the ones who have been told their best days are behind them. Your later years still matter. Don't let anybody in your life or in your own mind convince you that you have aged past your assignment. Moses was 80 years old when God handed him a nation. 80. Anna was in her 80s when she recognized the Messiah and declared what others could not yet see. Caleb was 85 years old and still saying, "Give me this mountain." Your gray hair is not a sign of irrelevance. It is a crown of wisdom that took a lifetime to earn. Proverbs 16:31 says exactly that. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not done. Your restraint was holy. Your tears were seen. Your hidden obedience counted when nothing visible confirmed it. And every single year of waiting, every season of silence, every decade that felt like it was dissolving into nothing, it was being woven into something that only makes sense now. Heaven did not respond because you were the loudest. Heaven responded because when you had every reason to lose yourself, every justification, every wound, every open door to destruction, you didn't. That is why the room went silent. That is why the verdict is final. That is why you are still here. Walk carefully now. Not because you are fragile, but because you are carrying something heaven has finally trusted you to hold. Say it boldly, right where you are. The trial is complete. Heaven has responded. If this word found you at exactly the right moment, put in the comments right now, "I will carry it well." Subscribe if you are ready for messages that do not entertain your pain but interpret it. And send this to someone who almost broke, but didn't.